you said something earlier about how if you're raised by the mother and you reject the father, then you go with all these kind of, I don't know, feminine energy traits. The other thing, I saw you on a show one time talking about the single mother raising you and how that's super dangerous because oftentimes her narrative will be, oh, your father did this and this and this and this, and she even sucks more of the potential masculinity out of a man.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that? Because these days, it's super high. It's like 60% of all men are raised without father figures.
There's nothing more single-handedly more damaging to children's mental health than being raised by a single mother. And I have to say that out loud, honestly, and I would say this even if I became a single mother.
You must get so much hate by saying
that.
I
could care less.
That's why I love you, Sadia.
I might become a single mother. Right. I'm not saying this as like, oh, I'm holier than thou.
But we're supposed to cherish the single mothers for doing the impossible job. And you know, in America, if you're a victim, you're always right.
Yeah, that's it. The moment you make a mistake, that means you're right.
Isn't it crazy how the woke culture seeps into our relationships and then causes men and women to not even like each other?
Horribly.
When it starts off as a victim narrative, it actually affects our romance and then even our procreation.
And the way they damage their children with zero guilt. And what I mean by this is so many mums come to me and they're like, oh, I don't allow access to the dad because he's a danger. Why is he a danger? Well, even if sometimes he is a danger, no problem. I do agree that sometimes a man is a danger. Maybe there's been some physical abuse or anything like that. I completely understand. But firstly, I can guarantee you he hit you before you had children. Your judgment made you go and then have children with a man that's aggressive. Who's to say that you might not pick a stepfather who's aggressive or who might even hit the children? Your poor judgment is then leaving your children now without access to their father, but with a woman that chooses badly. What is the biggest cause of children and child abuse? Stepfathers. What does that tell you about who's the danger to children? It's single mothers. It's single mothers that are the danger to children more than anything else, because stepfathers are a reflection of what the mother is choosing to put around the children. There are plenty of evil men in the world. I completely understand. But as a parent, it's only my responsibility to protect my kids. It's only your responsibility to protect your kids. I don't care about other people's kids. You don't care about my kids. This is just life. So it's my job to protect them. So if children are being harmed by stepfathers or stepmothers, it's the biological parent's fault. Entirely the biological parent's fault. And we know that there's so many women out there that will say, I never let that guy's father in soon because he was an alcoholic. He was this, he was that, he was that. But you chose him. So your selection is still the problem. Now we've got these children without biological fathers being exposed to more men of that woman's standard, more men of that woman's taste. Her taste is broken. And the worst thing is, this is every time a man comes to me and he's broken by his wife, he is being alienated from his children. He can't access his children. I'll say to him, what was your relationship with your father? Oh, my father was a narcissist. Who told you that? My mum said that. What did your mum do? No, my stepfather was a great mum. My dad, he was a piece of shit, blah, blah. Then you always and we dig deeper. We realize mum alienated the father and hated the father. And then what happens is he ends up selecting women that alienate fathers. They think it's normal to hate your dad. They create a culture in their own home where dads aren't respected because mum hated her dad, he hated his dad. And then they just create children who have no respect for fathers. And then when they're alienated, they're shocked. So when the men have been alienated from their fathers, usually through their mum's brainwashing, they attach to women with daddy issues. Always, because they feel sympathy. They're like, yeah, my dad did that too. They bond over this stupid kind of bonding technique. My dad was a narcissist too. High five, let's get married. What do you think is going to happen? She is going to do the exact same thing because that's what happens. You recreate it. And then you'll ignore all the red flags that she missed her dad's funeral. She never spoke to her dad. They train the children to do the same thing. So they create a cycle of parental alienation that the men sign up for when they don't realize their mum has done the same to them. So we have to break it.
What is the 3M method?
This is a program that I'm launching actually very soon. And here what I do is I teach men just 3 factors on how to have really healthy relationships. First one is mastering yourself. You can never have a healthy relationship without a healthy relationship with yourself. Without self-esteem and self-confidence, there is no point dating. Then you have to master women. Now, women speak a completely different language and men believe them. What they say they want and what they unconsciously reward are completely different. And the final thing is mastering relationships, where you understand communication, conflict resolution, how do relationships work. If you come out of a relationship and you have good memories, good years and beautiful kids, it's not a failure. It's relationships you're coming out of it with lowered self-esteem, broken homes, depression, anxiety, those are the failures. And that's where I come in with relationship skills.
Maybe we jump into something super relevant, which is, I'm in Dubai right now.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been here 2 months. Last year I spent a couple months here. I've been coming back and forth for the last couple years. And normally I'm in London, and I know you spend time in both cities, and yet both cities are major capitals in the world, and yet very, very different.
Yes.
From so many perspectives, and I'm assuming also from a dating and relationship perspective.
Absolutely.
And so let's jump in there.
Absolutely.
How is Dubai different than London?
Well, I'd be interested in how you find it different. I would be interested in what you think is the main difference. What I found to be, when I see the markets, to be fair, certain behaviors are getting globalized because people who with money in London spend a lot of time in Dubai. So certain behaviors are getting globalized. But generally speaking, the standards are totally different. So in Dubai, it's very typical for a woman to expect men to pay her rent, to expect a really nice lavish restaurant, and men to expect a 10 out of 10 supermodel. It's very like high expectations on both ends. In London, it's low expectations on both ends. It's very much like everything is kind of low expectations because life in itself is not that exciting. Life is not that intriguing. It's not that exciting. So what I find the main key difference is why I think relationships last longer in the UK than they do in Dubai is in Dubai there's so many alternatives to being in a relationship. There's so many other ways to stimulate your life outside of a relationship. You can run on the beach, you can go to nice restaurants, you can meet new people. Being single is really fun. You can be on a boat. If you're not in a relationship, you can still have a great life. But in London or the UK, if you're not in a relationship, most of your days get dark by the time it's 4 o'clock. You're going straight home, going to the gym, and then getting ready for work. Without a partner, it feels very, very lonely and it feels very like empty. So I can see why people tend to be in more toxic relationships and that they're just settling in London. Whereas in Dubai, they're in more fleeting relationships that kind of are a bit more like transient because they can replace people quite quickly and easily, and their life itself is quite stimulating, so they don't need to invest in a relationship as much. So both of them have their flaws, but for different reasons.
That's really interesting.
What do you find?
Well, and again, like we were talking earlier about like just the energy levels in Dubai and London. And London, I always tell people, when I look around in Dubai, everybody is here intentionally.
Yes.
The woman who serves me coffee at Starbucks and the taxi driver, everybody comes here for a better life. And you could say they should be paid more or blah, 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 but everyone is having a better life here and they intentionally came here.
Yeah.
So the energy is like really high.
Well, the energy is of gratitude as well.
Yeah,
there's a general energy of gratitude and like an aura of happiness to some extent. I'm not saying I don't know the ins and outs, but there's a general gratitude to be here.
Whereas in London, I walk around and I'd say 4 out of 5 people are phoning it in. Like they're collecting a check. They don't really want to be there. They're grinding it out. And you feel this energy of this, And also, it's a falling empire, right? Whereas maybe 200 years ago, you know, London was a rising empire.
Yeah.
And Dubai is a rising empire. And so it's got all this excitement and anticipation of where we're going, where everybody in London pretty has to admit that it's worse than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And 10 years from now, it's going to be worse than it is now.
Yeah.
It is.
And they make themselves feel better by saying, oh, but I would never want to live in Dubai. They've got slave labor. I would never want to live in Dubai. It's so shallow. But really, it's like there's slave labor, there's homelessness in London. There's so much going. I feel like a slave in London. I feel like I work and 40% goes to the government. I feel like a slave here. As soon as I land, I feel like £5 to park here, £5 to breathe here. Whereas I land in Dubai and it's like, oh, you're a tourist, here's a SIM card. Or, oh, welcome, here's this, here's that. There's a general hospitality as soon as you land in the Middle East that you'll never find in Western cultures, and in particular in London. There's a lack of hospitality because there is no abundance, unfortunately. The government takes everything from you. So I can see why people are like that. I can understand because I've been there myself. I've been there totally myself, and now shifting to a more hospitable environment, I couldn't be more lucky.
Damn, Sadia, you're even wiser than I thought.
No,
it's true though. You're right, because when you land in London, it feels oppressing. And if you think about it, they're taking 40% of your income and they're delivering you dirty tube stops and an NHS where you can't get an appointment, and homelessness everywhere and bad police.
And I still can't accept things like ULEZ and things like these kind of charges where I'm just like
extra taxes.
And old cars have to pay to go drive around, but it's like they're already obviously poorer because they're driving their old cars, and you're taxing them for driving there. And I'm like, these poor people, no wonder they're hostile. I can completely understand it. So that's why I've got a bit of resentment towards London, only because I was told my whole life this is the best city in the world. Best city, best city, best city. So I was like, okay, I'm in the best city, but why don't I feel it? And then when you move abroad, you realize that anywhere with good weather is better, for me personally.
A good point. And I think your assessment of maybe men and women are probably correct. I would say women in London traditionally have not had to maybe go out of their way as much when it comes to, looks as maybe their equivalents in New York City or LA. I don't know why that is. I would say, here, like you said, there's a lot of pretty girls. There's a lot of successful men, or at least people who at least pretend to be successful.
Yeah, very least.
Maybe that's a good effort.
Yeah.
It's like if you're a woman, you can at least pretend to be good looking too.
Yeah.
The effort is appreciated.
Yeah.
When I go to events, people really dress up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they go out of their way. The women put on makeup, the men dress up, which getting a man to dress up in London is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, you won't
and
see
like
it.
everyone makes an effort.
Yeah.
And it's always like surprising. It's noticeable to me. And in London, I would hang out in places where people would normally dress up.
Yeah.
And I still notice it here.
I always felt like overdressed in London. People always almost make you feel bad for being well dressed. Right. They're always like, oh, where are you going? Why are you always in heels? It's almost like they don't want you to be your best potential. And even sometimes online, they're like, oh, take your makeup off, because they're so used to being a lower level of themselves. Whereas when you go to, it's not for everybody. This is why I think if you meet girls who hate Dubai, chances are it's girls that feel intimidated by the level of beauty standards here. Whereas, and similarly, if you meet men that hate Dubai, it'll be they're intimidated by the financial standards of the men here. Okay. It's usually people who are intimidated, and as a result, they'll say, "Oh, I don't like it," and they'll say, "Oh, shallow." But really, you can meet very like-minded people. It's just that those like-minded people still live an elevated life. So it's very competitive, and those people that I always find that said, "Oh, I hate it. It's so shallow. It's so not me." It's people who literally couldn't compete in those two areas, looks or money, and they kind of filter themselves out.
That's interesting. You know, I was just talking with a guest earlier about money. You know, what's interesting about this city is that since there's so much money, I feel like people are looking at what you have besides money.
Yeah.
And so I would say to a man who might feel intimidated of being here is that actually your character and your work and your reputation and your vision is maybe more important here than it is in London. Because here, like I said, there is a lot of money around, so that doesn't delineate you.
And the same, there's a lot of beauty. So those things alone aren't actually enough. Right. Yeah, it's nice because if that's all you have, beauty as a girl, you'll come to Dubai and be like, every girl is beautiful. Now I've got to actually be a nice person. And same thing with men. It's like, if I only have money, it's like, but every man has a lot of money here. So it actually forces you to work on your networking skills, your independent skills, like just other skills if you want to. There is a really shallow side to it. There's a super shallow side to Dubai, which I completely understand. But if you ignore that part and just take the high standards of living, there's nowhere better.
It's so counterintuitive, Sadia, that a place that from the outside looks like the ultimate in bling and the ultimate, shallow place actually has a lot more depth going on.
I find it really deep. I found so many great connections out here. I love the Islamic kind of culture as well here. I know it's kind of disappearing a bit with the influx, but I generally find, like, for me, it's a city that suits my personality really well. Does it suit yours?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but it definitely suits my personality to a T. I couldn't be happier, and I feel lucky all the time that I live here. And I'm always worried, like, if they ever make me live somewhere else, I don't know where I go. I can't even go on holiday in peace because I'm comparing everything to Dubai. I'm like, Dubai would never do this. Dubai would never do that. So the safety that everything, I know I could go on. I don't want to bore your viewers, but it really is an incredible city. And we can, as other countries, you can learn a lot from its hospitality if you want to compete with it.
Yeah, very much so. I just took my boys to Kenya for the week for safari, and I got to really see a country in Africa and how they live.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people come here to work. And so you really see a contrast of what they can get at home versus what they could get here or build here. And it's just an amazing jewel kind of.
We're very lucky.
In the Middle East. I feel lucky to be here too.
We're very.
What do you guys think? Do you have anything to add on top of this conversation? Please leave your comment below. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you for making it this far. If you like this video, you might want to share it with a like-minded friend. Thank you, and as always, stay blessed.